Hello, welcome to this episode of Cold Hard Complaints. Today we're going to be talking about Hetalia, Axis Powers. And to do that, with me, is some friends. First I'm going to introduce King of Archers. King?
We're friends?
How dare you?
Easy. So easy. You make it so easy.
You've embarrassed me in front of my audience.
Got-y.
But King, introduce yourself. What do you do? What are your things? Minecraft. That's it.
Listen, unless you want to know my recent hyperfixation of Kakashi, like that's all you're getting from me.
Naruto?
Yeah, from that good old Naruto.
That thing I've seen like 2 episodes of once when I was in a fever in bed back in like 2003.
Hey,
or
you
something.
haven't been introduced yet. Can you like This is my spotlight, man. Come on.
Fine. I'll wait my turn.
Thank you. I'm done now. You can go.
That lack of anime knowledge actually brings us to our next guest, returning to the show, returning to the channel, returning in general. Yoshinam, to you. How's it going?
Well, howdy there.
Oh God, he's become Texan already.
Now, son, what is these Japanese cartoons
His
you keep telling
one
me about?
bit. You couldn't even wait like 2 minutes to pull your one bit.
Nope. It has to start right now.
We banned Texan anime, Dad.
You have to pay us $1 each every time you try and do a Texan accent.
There's no Texan anime dad allowed in this episode at all. That's it.
Okay, fine. I'll do my best.
That one's staying in.
You got
that
your
one's
one.
staying in, but no more.
I got my one. Fine.
No one's redeemed it.
I can redeem it. My name is Yosh, also known as Yoshinam. I stream on Twitch. I'm a variety streamer. I also do Minecraft. And sometimes I just hit my head on a table for 3 hours straight, live.
That's cool. How come I haven't seen one of those yet? That's cool.
Late night streams.
Dang, man.
That is a pretty good. That's a pretty good description of your channel and community.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so these are my friends, and King and I are planning on doing a little story about the history of Hetalia Axis Powers.
Actually, I have a question real quick.
Go ahead.
Is it subtitle really Axis Powers?
Yes.
Yikes.
Oh yeah, hey bud, we're gonna get into it. Don't you worry.
Oh no, I regret this already.
Yeah, so that actually is the dynamic we're going to have here is King and I have a lot of experience with Hetalia because we are weebs or former weebs recovering addicts.
Yeah, excuse you.
Yeah,
Listen.
You're a recovering addict.
I haven't watched a lot of Naruto yet. It's just mostly just been Kakashi compilations. I don't really think that counts as a weeb quite yet. When I start buying the merchandise, then you can start calling me one again, all right? But I'm recovering, come on.
Okay, so one weeb, one recovering addict, but we're going to be talking about Hetalia Axis Powers because we both like experience this community. And it's an interesting tale, so we wanted to bring our friend Yoshinam in to explain this all to, because he has no idea what any of this is.
Who are you?
That's exactly right. Yoshinam also has late-stage dementia. It's incredibly sad.
It's really sad. This is actually
What
one of the
day is
last
it?
things we're going to do with him before we have to put him down.
Oh,
This is going to play at the funeral, so...
It's
I'm
really
glad I'll
sad.
forget that here in like 5 minutes.
Anyway, so based on a manga series from 2006, spawning an anime in, 2009, Hetalia is a really interesting series, but to really get into all of what Hetalia was, I'm going to turn this over to King of Archers. King, if you'd like to take it away.
No. What? Hold on. What? Stop. How dare you put me on the spot? Hi, I used to be part of the Hetalia fandom, and I shouldn't have been. Oh my God. Oh, it was really bad.
That bad?
There's a lot of things that we shouldn't have done, but 2009 was a different time.
Yeah. God, was it 2009? Oh my God.
It was. It at least started in 2009. It came over to America, I think, in
my
2010,
God.
2011.
All right, Yosh.
Yes.
Hetalia was, in retrospect, probably poor taste.
I could tell by the subtitle.
The baseline of Hetalia was, so it was a bunch of countries kind of just set in World War II, and they just kind of, were countries. So just picture the personification of Germany, Japan, and Italy fighting against the Allied nations, but they're cute anime guys instead of like a horrendous tragedy.
What? What do you mean personification?
Literally, like, they were hot anime guys, but they were literally the country.
It's set in World War II.
Yeah, set in World War II. So I want to show you a photo, and I'm gonna put this photo in so that Cold can use it. This is Germany.
Hey,
That's
you know,
literally.
Connor, I know we just started, but I'd really like this to end.
Yeah, no. It gets so much worse.
I didn't realize how you guys have mentioned Hetalia. I didn't understand that they were like hot anime boys who were the country. I thought you meant like
No.
they were from the countries or something.
No,
Nope.
they were the
Nope,
country.
they are the country.
They did have like normal names, but for the most part, they were always referred to as their actual country name. So this was Germany, but his name was Ludwig. But everyone called him Germany.
Uh-huh.
Right, yeah, they'll have like a stereotypical name for the country.
Yeah, like I think it's generally one of the like top 5 at the time most popular names. So like America, who I will show you now, he was named Alfred F. Jones specifically.
Alfred F. Shouldn't it be like John?
No, you wish it was John.
My name is John America. Oh God.
Yeah, so that's Alfred. That's America. That's literally the United States of America.
That looks like Britain.
His favorite food, his favorite food is burgers. It's a whole thing.
Oh no, I already don't like this direction.
Hold on, I just want to remind you something that just reminded me. His glasses are supposed to represent the state of Texas. Why?
What?
I don't remember.
Wait, what? I didn't know
Yeah.
What do you mean Texas? I don't see Texas in here.
Yeah, no, his glasses are apparently supposed to represent the state of Texas. I don't remember why or when that came up, but I do remember it being like a whole thing. It actually spawned, I don't want to get into this too much quite yet, but it actually spawned like State-sonas and province-sonas,
Oh my god.
which we'll get into later on.
This is why I have kink here, is I don't actually know this depth of the community.
Yeah.
Because my side of things here is I'm familiar with Hetalia. I watched both of most of the series, and I'm familiar kind of with the manga and some of the community out of it, because a lot of people I was around were big fans of this series when I was younger, and I saw the convention community for it, which we're going to get into a little later. But I wasn't actually that in the fandom. King.
Oh, I was
were, though.
deep in it.
Yeah.
It was bad.
What brought you to Hetalia?
I was a weeb. I don't even remember. Like, I just remember suddenly watching it. I don't remember, like, a certain key point or someone introducing it to me. I just remember I was in high school and Hetalia was it, so I was like, okay, I'll watch it. That was it. The biggest draw is that it was literally just a bunch of hot dudes, and I was like, yo, I love hot dudes.
Wait, so are you telling me this was like some kind of like slice of life?
Yeah.
What was the genre?
It was legitimately like this weird slice of life type thing. So it was originally a 4-koma, which is a 4-panel manga comic type thing. So generally it was like 4 panels. It was just like these funny little like bits and stuff. It originally started as that. And then there were occasionally some serious stuff, but for the most part, it was just like them messing around and being weird. At the very least, that's what I remember. I know there were like these weird subpoints and subplots every now and then, but if you wanted to get into the serious stuff, you had to get into the fandom.
And we'll be getting into the fandom in a little bit here.
This is already sounding horribly problematic.
Yeah, but we have to introduce more things before we get into that.
Oh no.
One thing to also mention is each episode was about like 5 minutes long, all animated by Studio Dean. So it wasn't like a very hard series to get into. You could run through a lot of this show pretty quick. It was a net animation originally.
Yeah, it was incredibly digestible, which made it so popular.
Exactly. And it does not take very long to understand like the gist of the show, like when you're watching it. It builds up its bare bones plot and its characters. Those are all really brought to your attention really quickly. So it does not take a lot of time for people to understand and grasp the at least basics of it. Which means it's a very, very low time commitment to actually feel like you're engaged in the community, and to then take that very small amount of time and then move into the fandom. Though, of course, most people, I'm sure, watched a lot of it over and over again. But
So it fast-tracked people into the weird internet side. of whatever the hell this was.
Yeah, there's some anime that start really slow, like, there's like Dot Hack and stuff like that start really slow or harder to get into, and that turns a lot of people off. This is the opposite of that. This is a very fast series to get into. You get the hot anime boys right away. You get the whole gist of the countries, the ideas. But yeah,
I will pretend to know what Dot Hack is.
Dot Hack is a nerdy show. It's like if Sword Art Online was good, is what I've heard. Though I haven't watched it myself because I also couldn't get past the first 3 episodes. So
Fake weeb.
I know. But this is getting cut out of the episode. So
Destroyed.
No.
I don't know where this would fall into the thing, but I pulled up the fandom wiki for America, and in the relationship status with Lithuania, so like there's always like the relationships and like the people that they kind of like hang out with the most. And in the Lithuania one, I just want to read this full paragraph. After falling into poverty due to World War I, Lithuania started to work for America as his housekeeper, finding himself a happy freedom in the process. When the Great Depression hit, Lithuania found himself having to return back home with Russia. It seems like Lithuania actually cares for America, since in episode 29 he asks Russia about him, although a trembling Estonia interrupts him to remind him that he cannot talk to Russia about America. He also was one of the people who went to America's birthday party. Hey, what?
What?
That's insane! Hey!
This is also one of the things that's kind of weird about it, is because Hetalia also has like a thing where like they try to depict like actual relationships between countries. I figure myself pretty read up on history. I'm not sure of any kind of history with Lithuania like that.
Okay, I already have some questions here. All right.
All right,
I
let's
want
go.
to ask you. Okay, number one, how many countries are there? Like, what are these? There's Lithuania, of all things?
Yeah, the countries kind of change. I think for the most part, it's mostly North American and European and Asian. I think they've added more since I have actually, like, been in the fandom. So I'm not entirely sure, but I know that there was not a lot when I first started.
Okay, but World War I is canon.
Yeah, I hate to say World War I and World War II are canon. They're currently fighting in World War II.
Okay, all right, we can... Oh, God. Okay, we can get to the World War II here in a second, but you're telling me that the internal politics between World War I and World War II are happening in this show?
Yes.
Okay.
Basically, yes. In a very childlike
Yeah,
form.
Yosh, I need you to know, I have a very distinct memory, and Cold, I apologize if you're going to have to go and find this now, but I have a very distinct memory of the character Germany literally fighting in a war at some point. Like, it's literally shown in the anime of him fighting in combat.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I remember
Yep.
that too. Yeah, I'll need to find that.
All right, I'm going to ask something that Connor may have to censor. Do they depict Japan being Russia?
No.
No.
So it's not accurate, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
There are no serious topics. It's incredibly censored.
Okay, that was scaring me.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
still
that's
scared.
not in there.
Okay.
Yeah. So like China is a character and as part of the Allied nations, right? And like they don't depict anything like really in depth with like Japan or China or like any kind of thing with like, Germany and France. There's no actual like major events taken out. It's like this is a gang of friends and this is a gang of friends. And one of that gang of friends is the Axis powers, who are our main characters.
That's I don't know which is worse. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah,
Hey,
it's
hey Yoshi, you want to take a guess as to who the main character of the anime is?
I'm going to guess it's either Japan or Germany.
No.
Really?
It's North Italy. Specifically
North
North
Italy?
Italy. Yeah, there's a North Italy and a South Italy.
South Italy is too surly to be a main character.
Yeah. And North Italy is depicted as this carefree, stupid idiot. You see the photo of Germany that I sent earlier on the bottom right there?
Is that
The
him?
dude with the happy face? Yeah, that's North Italy. He likes to take off his clothes and sleep just wherever he pleases.
He's lazy, doesn't get a lot of work done, loves pasta.
This is starting to sound racist.
Yeah, you've come to the other part of Hetalia.
Welcome
Oh,
to
no.
Hetalia, Yosh.
Oh no.
Yeah, so Hetalia is a very, one thing to note, it's TVMA, it's mature, even though, like, most of the jokes seem like they're meant for children. So Hetalia is actually, like, each character as a personification of the country, they're a stereotype of that country. Like, Germany is depicted as a hardworking, thoughtful, tough individual.
I mean, for God's sake, Germany literally has blonde hair and blue eyes. In World War
yeah.
II, like,
Yeah.
we can see that there's some weird stuff going on.
Are you wanting me to gas you?
Yeah. So,
Oh God.
and Japan also has a characteristic of being stoic, kind of thoughtful, and just quietly going along with these people he thinks are very, very smart and that he should follow. You know, really respects Germany and tolerates Italy. And so, like, this is the kind of characteristics they've given these characters. They are stereotypes of their country. One way that people who are associated with the show try to escape criticism, I remember when I first heard about Hetalia Axis Powers, I was actually at a panel with Todd Habercorn, who's, like, the voice actor, an English voice actor for Italy, I think, Maine, Italy. And they were all saying, like, oh, yeah, it's all good that, you know, this whole show is about stereotypes because they stereotype everybody. They do weird characters of every country, so it's, you know, it's all teasing and it's lighthearted and it's no big deal, which I guess in 2010 made a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Depends on how they're stereotyped. Japan and Germany are super perfect, stoic, and thoughtful, and North Italy is a fucking idiot. Okay.
Yeah.
Parody.
Yeah, kinda.
Parody.
Yeah, kinda. That's kinda how it goes.
Oh no.
Why the heck is this guy such a putz?
Moving on, though, we've kind of already touched upon the production of the show, but I kind of want to touch on it a little more. The character designs is a huge part of this show. Each character is actually pretty thoughtfully designed to, you know, identify themselves as a member of that country. I'm going to show a few more examples of it here. But, you know, like, America has, like, a nice American proper uniform, but also it's like a bomber jacket that says USA on the back, which is, like, kind of gaudy, which is a very American thing. You know, that makes sense.
John America.
It actually, sorry, I just wanted to correct. It actually has a 50 on the back, but it's removed in the anime because it was incorrect, because Hawaii was not a state in 1959. Or until 1959.
Oh.
And it takes place in World War II.
Oh, that's right. Okay. For some
How
reason, I thought it said
thoughtful.
USA. Maybe that's a cosplayer thing that just got stuck in my
Yeah,
mind.
it's possibly a cosplayer thing. They may have changed
Okay.
it to say USA later on, but at the very least, when I was around, it was a 50.
All right, that makes sense. Thank you for the correction. This is why you're involved.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Hold on. Let me actually show you Canada.
Oh, yeah, my favorite. I used to draw Canada. I still have fan art that I've drawn of Canada and Germany hanging out together because I was like, these are my two countries. That was very popular, by the way. Was just like drawing your country and like your like parents' country or like your heritage, just like getting along and hanging out. It was very popular to do.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of fan art of Hetalia. It's not hard to find. But, like, you know, the characters are all really depicted mostly in, like, military uniforms that reflect their country in some sort of way. They depict Canada as kind of like a smaller, quieter, nicer brother to America, who's more bombastic and loud.
Yeah, the running joke in the show was that literally no one could see Canada. Like, literally, like, he was just completely invisible. A lot of the times he would try and speak up and people would be like, hey, where's Canada? And, like, he would be right next to them.
Yeah, Canada doesn't get any respect in this.
Just like in real life. Understandable.
To be fair, a lot of countries don't get respect in this.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, they typically depict all these countries typically in military uniforms, all as hot anime guys that kind of have generic characteristics from the Japanese perspective, at least, or more accurately, I should say, it's the interpretation of these characters from Hidekazu Himuruya's perspective. I kind of butchered the pronunciation of that, but you get it. That's the mangaka, it's the creator of the series. It's supposed to be like a general Japanese perspective, or at least for a Japanese audience to understand, which I always think is interesting with anime, is they'll take things like that everyone just kind of interprets differently, like the devil in anime is interpreted in like 15 different ways. It's always interesting to kind of see the Japanese translated perspective of that. One thing I also want to get in here is the show doesn't have a lot of really detailed backgrounds. It's a gag anime for the most part. You know, as King was saying, they're very short episodes, 5 minutes long. There's not a lot of detail to it. The studio that did it is Studio Dean, who is known for doing a lot of anime, but not really a lot of quality anime. Like, around the time, they also did Fate Stay Night, which, I mean, the original Fate Stay Night anime is not good. Their anime adaptations leave a lot to be desired, but if you're doing an anime more for the cheap, they're the studio to go with. even now, they're a studio to go with.
Okay, so they're the Illumination pictures.
Yeah, kind of. It's like they do the job. They're able to interpret the manga into the anime at a decent price for people, for anime that doesn't need to look like Attack on Titan or anything. It doesn't need to be elevated at any kind of level.
Okay.
So more basic run-of-the-mill anime just run through those kind of studios here. So that it doesn't have a really complicated look to it. A lot of the backgrounds are kind of fuzzy or can be reused a lot. And a lot of the animation is pretty simple. A lot of gag animation for, anime, which as we all know is more just like a character standing in the place with a mouth flap going, or like looking at a big chibi form, or some kind of different kind of like expression of anger or surprise or something like that. Again, general kind of outfits or general kind of looks that can be replicated and used over and over again that don't require that much work, or that at least cut down on the work for the staff.
Okay.
A lot of these tactics are used in a lot of other anime, but the effect is that it makes the show cheaper to make, and this show was already like a 5-minute show, so you can make a lot of episodes for pretty small budget.
Yeah.
One thing to also note about the series, and I kind of just want to bring up in general, I've been thinking of doing a full video on this, is Japan has a weird obsession with Germany. Like anime in general, I should say. Anime has a weird obsession with Germany.
Just like World War II.
Just like World War II. Just like world wars in general have a weird obsession with Germany.
Apparently,
yeah. But in this case, what that means is Italy is the main character. That's accurate to say. They're the point of view you mainly go forward with. Though, of course, it's a gag anime and they switch it up every now and then. But Italy's the main character, the main one who's like in every story. And the secondary main character would then be Germany, he's always with. They're really close friends. They're always together, and there is a lot of effort put into like glorifying how cool Germany is, or like how hardworking Germany is.
Oh,
like
cool.
Germany is like a major character in this show, and I can't stress that enough. And like this isn't just Hetalia. Like all all anime does this pretty frequently. A lot of fantasy shows and a lot of like isekai or anything that takes place in any kind of medieval era or early 1800s. They all try to use this kind of aesthetic that reads as either, Central European. You could say like, it could also be Belgian or like Austrian, just kind of like some Central German kind of aesthetic to them.
Just Germanic.
Yeah, Germanic, and also like using in names and stuff, yeah.
And even as someone who doesn't typically watch anime, that is something I've noticed. They love their fancy strapping German outfits and hats very much.
No, yeah, that's very true. And it's something that's like Japan had like, I think this is kind of depicted as The Wind Rises, is it? But it's about like kind of like where this all came from is as Japan was modernizing, Germany was the country they really looked towards, and where they sent a lot of their people to study as they were trying to modernize Japan, and they kind of try to model it a little bit after Germany. To kind of exemplify that, I want to show you a picture of some of the main characters of an anime that takes place in a complete fantasy world, very, very different. It kind of has the aesthetic of like a steampunk world, but it's all about airships and, these different kind of adventures these people have in the airships that fill up their world.
Okay, that sounds fun.
But I want you to take a look at the main characters' outfits.
Yeah, let's have a look.
Tell me what you see in it.
Okay. Well, right away, this icon at the top right is looking very like woof.
Yeah, it doesn't get any better when it's smaller because the shows on their helmets, it does not look great. Here's like normal uniforms.
They do love their armbands.
They do love their armbands. Yeah, so like as you can see, this is kind of thing that happens a lot in anime. This isn't also from anime from a similar time frame, but it like happens today in anime too. It just is the kind of aesthetic they like to take from a lot in anime. And you can kind of see that obsession bleed into the show a little bit, especially into the design and like where the show focuses, which is basically a lot of it. The show, like even in the early episodes, is Italy's perspective in bothering Germany, but there's a lot of Germany in anime in general, and as a part of that, there's a lot of Germany in this show called Hetalia Axis Powers. So things get weird.
It sounds like it gets very weird.
And so why this is important, why I brought this up so much, why it's important that Germany and German aesthetics are so relevant for this show is that, as a part of that here, these kids in their 2010s then use that to inspire their cosplay. Now...
Oh, no.
So we're going to actually start to lead this into the cosplay conversation, which King is going to take more of here. But I'm going to lead it and start with this. There was a lot of people who would be able to get like pretty standard store-made outfits or like pretty manufactured outfits you could just buy offline. Like people do this with Attack on Titan. There's an anime that has a lot of outfits you can just buy really easily. So it's really easy for someone who doesn't have any kind of skill in making a cosplay, just buy a cosplay and look pretty good. And so people would buy that character, you know, and a lot of people would dress up as Germany. And a lot of people would also carry flags, symbolizing which country you were. So if you're dressed up as America, you're holding the American flag. You're dressed up as Italy, holding the Italian flag. You're dressed up as Germany. Sometimes people made the wrong choice.
Are you telling me people walked around with swastika flags to be World War II accurate?
I don't know if anyone has ever I personally, in my experience, never saw that. At the very least, for me specifically, people were a little more tactful about it in real life.
I would hope so.
However, I have definitely seen some art, but that's generally on the darker side of Hetalia. People love to get into their darker stuff regardless, and when it comes to World War II, they're able to get away with a lot.
Oh.
Or at the very least, they think they're able to.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and I'll add in that I haven't seen that part in real life as much. I've seen pictures of other people doing it. I've seen, like, and I've heard stories about it. I haven't seen as much about that in real life. I just know that people have done it. And like, we're not saying that most Hetalia cosplayers are aware of that. Do not do it. That's a hard line to go against.
So I will say that as someone who was in the fandom, I've always said this about every fandom. Every fandom is bad. Every fandom has its horrendous people. No matter where you go. There is no one better fandom. There's just a larger audience. And Hetalia had a very, very large audience.
That's very true. Hetalia was, at the time, very popular.
It was, it was ridiculously popular. So, just based on that, there's bound to be a couple of absolute freaks. Especially people who saw what a bunch of teenage girls were doing, who were just having fun, bunch of hot guys, whatever, and went, hey, I can be comfortable in this, and would just be really weird about the whole World War II thing.
That's a tactic a lot of people use as they try to infiltrate into communities at these kind of perspectives here. We're not going to get a whole lot into this. No. This is not the topic of the video.
But it was just weird.
It was weird. It was weird. There's weird people can happen.
Yeah, luckily,
and I am not trying to say that this is a common thing.
No, luckily.
But it did happen at times.
Yeah, at the very least, the area that I hung out with, we were all very sensible people, and we knew when something was bad, and we knew when something would be taken too far.
And a lot of times people are very well-intentioned. They're not trying to do anything weird. Maybe sometimes people get a little dumb, but overall, most people are just trying to have fun. They're in high school with their friends. They're all cosplaying as characters from a show, and they're just trying to have fun. There's not really a whole lot of more thought put into it.
Me specifically, I was like 14, 15 when I got into Hetalia. We didn't have the same type of internet that people do today, so we only knew what our parents told us and we were taught in school. Like, we didn't have Twitter at the time. We just got into, everyone just was getting into Tumblr. Like, we were not as educated and well-rounded as we could have been today. So the people who did see Hetalia and went, oh, you know what? I actually want to learn more about history. Me, one of them. We actually learned pretty quickly, hey, this is a little weird. Maybe we can separate the two. So a lot of people tried to separate the two and brought the countries more into the 21st century and kind of stayed away from the World War II stuff.
Yeah, and we should say that the show itself also kind of tried to do that.
Yeah, I think it's still going, and I think it's called World Stars, and I don't think it has too much about it now.
So yeah, actually the series did end and come back a few different times. After Hetalia Axis Powers ended, there's Hetalia World Series, which went from... there's like this. I thought it was the second season, basically. Then there was Hetalia Axis Powers, the movie, which again they went back to the name. And then after that, I think the next series they'd be like Hetalia, the World Twinkle, or Hetalia, the World Stars World Stars is the current name.
At the very least, they kind of moved away from the Axis Power stuff. But again, it kind of moved away as everyone else and the internet started to grow and we all became more aware. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that the original plotline was literally the Axis Powers.
This is where it starts, and like this is this is the inception point for like where everyone got started with this anime back in 2010s.
Yeah.
It's what you were watching. If you're involved in Hetalia, you didn't have the later seasons out there. You didn't have the movie. You didn't have any of that. You were getting started with the anime.
So I want to talk a little bit about the cosplay, because regardless of how weird some of them were, it was still incredibly weird that you could literally just go out and suddenly buy a replica of a World War II outfit of whatever country you chose and just kind of wear it. That was a thing that you could do. It became incredibly popular.
Kind of a weird thing to get popular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It became incredibly normalized.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because, like, this is something that, like, beforehand, if you're someone dressing up in, like, a World War II era outfit, you're some kind of, like, you know, history nut maybe, or, like, you're really into, like, you know, old uniforms and, like, World War II in general, which that's a whole thing mainly for, like, well-off older men, you know?
Yeah, not a bunch of 15-year-old girls.
Yeah, that is the very strange part.
Exactly. Not a...
Like...
Yeah, so like overnight it changed from being purely something that older men would do or like collect or like think about to being just a tween thing.
Yep.
Hashtag just tween things. Dressing up as a stormtrooper with just tween things. Oh, God. I don't mean the Star Wars stormtroopers either.
So Yosh, remember back when I told you about America's glasses being Texas?
Yes.
So I can finally get into the thing that I was heavily invested in was country sonas. And country sonas were countries that had not been given an official release. So people would just pick a country that was not in the anime. Generally it would be a country that like you were either like a part of or like you lived in or was your heritage or just whatever. And they would take that country and make that their country sona. So it was your OC, essentially, but we called them country sonas.
Country sonas.
And the...
West Virginia.
Yeah, so the subplot of that, the sonas were the State-sonas and Province-sonas. So you would just pick your state, pick your province, pick your whatever they're called, like wherever you live, whatever they're called. You would just pick one of those, and suddenly, yep, that's my State-sona. There were Texas-sonas, there were Canada, there were like Province-sonas. So like you would see like a Quebec-sona. I remember there was like this very popular set of Province-sonas for Canada where like everyone hated Alberta, which is incredibly valid, and Quebec was incredibly annoying, which is incredibly valid. Like you could tell when someone actually lived in that country and they were making like Province-sonas or State-sonas, because they were pretty spot on most of the time. But it also just like it was this huge open like, oh, I can just kind of do whatever. Like I just pick like a city and suddenly that's my city sona, and everyone just rolled with it.
City sona.
Because like there were no like real people in it. Like there were references to people, like one of the characters, Prussia, which I don't want to get into Prussia, but at the same time I do, because he was my favorite. I shouldn't admit that, but like one of the characters would talk about quote unquote old Fritz, which was literally like a Frederick II. Like they would talk about like their world leaders, but like for the most part there weren't like just like random civilians. So people were just taking whatever city or country wasn't claimed and just going like, this is my country sona. And for the most part, people were pretty okay with other country sonas. Like there was, I don't really remember a lot of times there being someone being like, you can't have that country because it's mine. Like a lot of times people would draw like their country sona with the other person's country sona. So it was a pretty like amicable like agreement.
Okay. I just want to say, I would hate to meet the person who has an Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Oh my god, I bet there is one. Hold on.
Whoever had Oklahomas, I'm pretty sure should they even be allowed to like walk out in daylight?
Oh my god, they look like you.
What do you mean they look like me?
Oh my god, wait, pause. Pause.
No.
Pause. I just looked this up. Pause. Look, it's you.
Oh no. This isn't the Oklahoma I wanted. I wanted to make fun of Oklahomans.
As someone who grew up in Texas and also makes fun of Oklahoma regularly here, that's too cool of a design for Oklahoma.
That is. Oklahoma should be like a 50-year-old dude in like, I don't know, just kind of sitting in a chair on his porch. Nothing else happening.
Oh my god, sorry, pause. I just found the province-sonas. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I need you to
Please
know
share.
how accurate this is incredibly accurate and it's hilarious. I hate this province so much.
Oh my god.
Wow, I hate it.
Yeah, he's the worst.
We should clarify here that King is from Alberta.
Yes.
He gets drunk, then sleeps it off at a 24-hour Tim Hortons. Okay.
Anyway, yeah, the point of the matter is you could literally just pick whatever, type in Hetalia OC, and then you'll get something.
Oh, great.
Yeah, you'll at least one person who's made a character sheet of that state. Most likely like 3 or 4.
Yep.
If you look up Texas, I looked up Texas now. I see like 4 immediately. They're all slightly different.
Texas was very popular as one because it was the largest state. Most people live there.
Yeah, a lot of people live in Texas. It makes sense. Probably California is probably one also. I'm not familiar with State-sonas on my end here, which is by King's handling this section, but I can definitely see the appeal of this. If you're like a young artist, and you would like Hetalia, it's a really good way to try to get involved, and like...
Oh, it was hugely popular. A lot of people, like, made friends based off of, like, whoever's country sona you were, like, sitting next to. It was incredibly popular.
I wonder what a New Mexico Sona looks like.
Well, congratulations. We're now looking it up.
Oh, great.
Oh my god, I remember them! I remember this face!
What do you mean you remember them?
Oh no, sorry, this was just, sorry, this was like just Mexico. They just decided to remove the New Mexico part.
Okay,
sorry,
cool.
this was just Mexico.
I see how it is.
But I do remember this. This was a very, very popular Mexico, design. I don't think it was official. Yeah, no, it wasn't. Here's one that's New Mexico.
This was all you could find.
Surprisingly, yeah.
There's other ones. There's
other ones, but this is like the most like colored one.
I think it's a pretty good representation for the state.
Close enough. But it's just kind of wild to me that anyone would, I don't know. 14, 15 is kind of young to get interested in state politics, I'm going to be honest.
Listen, little girls are weird, man. I don't know what you want from us. We're not allowed to like anything, so we were just decided to be incredibly weird about everything.
One, that's incredibly true.
Valid.
Especially back then. Like, this is like peak of like Twilight hate era, But what I would say is, I think one of the things that is cool about Hetalia is that it does package world politics in a way that's more understandable for people at a base level, at least, for like younger people who really may not have been interested in beforehand. Because when you get down to it, in a lot of cases, a lot of world conflicts do come to just two countries bickering over like something that they want, like if they like two people bicker over a meal. And like, that's not the most nuanced way to get anything, but it's an inception for people to get into something further. Like as King was saying earlier, it was something that drove her to think more about history and stuff like that. And
yeah, I mean that kind of makes sense.
But on the other hand, wow, it gets weird. I want to talk about the weird dark side of Hetalia. Obviously, people love their angst. This is something that is prevalent everywhere. I personally am not interested in angst, but sometimes it gets shoved in your face.
There is a reason emos exist.
Yeah. Angst is obviously going to be very prevalent in a anime that is semi-centered around World War II. Although not actually specifically in the show themselves, fans love to take these types of things really far. To the point where... Okay, I cannot say for sure. Like, I'm pretty sure it's like a fandom thing, but I very specifically remember. So the two characters, Germany and Prussia, are brothers. Prussia calls Germany West, so it's heavily implied that Germany is West Germany, while Prussia is East Germany. For anyone who may or may not know World War II, East Germany was the side that was kind of taken by the Allied powers, and was mostly kind of ruled over by, I don't want to say specifically Russia, but Hetalia kind of like just made it Russia.
Actually, I have a question. Did they call them Russia or did they call them USSR?
They called him Russia.
Okay.
They call them Russia. Yeah, they don't actually acknowledge the USSR at any point.
Yeah, they do not.
That's a little weird, but
that is weird actually. Then I think about it, and it's also kind of a weird point of like This is a very, very, very small tangent. It's very weird how they'll just have countries that exist at certain times that didn't actually exist at that time.
Oh, yeah,
or
for sure.
weren't actually considered countries, but like whole different topic.
Yeah. But, so it was very heavily implied that he was East Germany. There is already a very weird subsection based around the Berlin Wall when it came to that whole thing.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but along with that, the dark side of Hetalia was these weird implications of Prussia being kidnapped and locked in Russia's basement.
What?
These were incredibly popular headcanons of Prussia being literally kidnapped, and just I very specifically remember this in multiple fanfics and multiple like fan arts of Prussia just being, I don't know what else to say.
I mean, it's really weird because it's this whole like internet community of like, what if we push this further?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like we take the interpretation the show is giving us and we just push that a little further.
I don't have the sanity to unpack all of the implications of that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So it is implied that he does hate Russia. I can't actually see what their proper relationship was like. I don't remember if it was even like actually true or not, but I do just specifically remember like this whole thing. But like the idea of Prussia being in the anime in general is already really weird.
Yeah, since Prussia was part of Germany at the time, because like Germany before Germany existed, Germany was a collection of states that all had like Germanic origins, similar languages, similar culture, who all coalesced and formed Germany. And then Prussia was one of the big parts of it. So yeah, having Prussia as a character separately is a little weird.
That's, it's one of those things where like you look at this on the surface and it's weird, and you just know it's weird, and then you scratch it a little layer just a tiny bit, and it's like way weirder than you can ever imagine.
Yeah, it gets weird and uncomfortable all the way down.
Yeah, you want to start talking about the shipping?
Yes, I do.
This was something I was not a fan of. I have never particularly been too big of a fan of, like, shipping in general.
Oh, you mean like trade agreements?
Sure, yeah.
Between countries?
Yeah. I need you to know that that's probably a joke somewhere.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it.
Anyway, besides the point, some of the shipping was, like, very obvious. Like, a lot of people shipped Germany and North Italy because those were the two main characters. Some of these ships were incredibly distasteful. Ridiculously distasteful.
You should know better than to force a Brit into nudity.
The former, being Prussia and Russia, was incredibly bad.
Yeah.
The show also kind of pushed it as well. It was really weird because Belarus was a character in it who was obsessed with her brother Russia, to the point where she hated absolutely everyone else that got in her way of Russia.
That's so strange. I didn't even I had forgotten that whole thing of Belarus being so
on the nose right now, I'm gonna be honest with you, but
a little on the nose.
Right now, she's trying to make new friends in the European Union. Hey, sis, stop it.
There's a lot of actually Russian jokes in here that are a little on the nose for current times, to be honest. One of the biggest gags I remember from the show was that Russia, the character, would always stare at the Balkan states and be like, "One day you'll be back." And it's just like, like Lithuania, Estonia, all these other little Balkan countries. They were all like in a little friend group. It's like, we're free, and it always depicted Russia as like leering at them. Yeah.
Very strange.
Yep.
Very strange.
The one upside of Hetalia, one of the upsides, is that it brought a lot of people into knowing what micronations were.
Oh yeah, this is something I had no idea about until Hetalia.
Yeah.
And like the main way I know about any of what King's about to go into is because of Hetalia.
Mm-hmm. So micronations, Yosh, are essentially independent type areas that are basically just barely meeting the qualifications of being your own country.
Yeah, okay. I know what that is.
So the most popular one that became incredibly popular because of Hetalia is Sealand, which is a tiny little micronation off the coast of Great Britain. And Sealand, the actual micronation, knew about Hetalia and was completely on board with the Sealand persona.
I imagine if you're a micronation, you're going to be really excited about being in anything.
Yeah, Sealand was incredibly excited about this. So they would post constantly on Facebook. I'm sure if you go onto the Sealand Facebook page, you can scroll back and find them talking about it.
Okay, this is the only valid thing we've talked about so far.
Yeah.
This is very valid.
Yeah. It got to the point where Sealand was so popular that they were making some decent change just based off of people being allowed to purchase titles. So, like, you could purchase, like, the Lord or Lady title of Sealand for, like, $1 or something.
Oh.
And a lot of people who were into Hetalia did. I never did, because I didn't know how to, but... because I was like 14, I had no money.
Right.
But a lot of people did.
Yeah, it's a good way to profit off the show and make a quick buck off of it.
I mean, fair enough. They were handing out titles as a promotion for Elden Ring somewhere in Scotland. Did you know that?
Oh yeah. I know Scotland, they do that a lot. There's a whole thing, you can buy a small plot of land and be a lord or lady in Scotland. But yeah, I mean, they do that. Sealand. I don't know who would ever heard of Sealand unless you're really into off-coast European politics.
I love off-coast European politics.
Oh, perfect.
I have a hat that says that.
I don't even think we got into what Sealand is. King, can you describe what Sealand actually is in real life?
I need you to know that most people always depicted it as 2 tin cans on top of, like, holding up, like, a board, along with just, like, another tin can on top. It was... The Principality of Sealand it's literally... This is what Sealand looks like. It used to be...
Hello, Sealand.
It was essentially a fort in World War II, which is why Sealand is in Axis powers. But it was literally just a fort off the coast, just to kind of protect Great Britain from Germany. And, like, the Axis powers.
I knew about micronations. I did not know about Sealand and it being literally 2 tin cans. What?
But yeah, so what things like this led to is, like, a lot of people, again, like I mentioned earlier, cosplaying as different kinds of countries. And again, in most cases, it was just really normal teen girls picking up a costume they bought offline and then, dressing up as just, like, Canada, America, Italy, whatever, and just going to a convention, having fun. And there's huge groups of these kind of convention goers there. I remember going to conventions that had these groups there. They'd have these huge meetups. Everyone would have their flags. And it was all pretty pure, people making... there's a lot of cringe stuff that would happen, of course, people...
Just as there is with everything.
Yeah, it's just anime in general, yeah.
People would... this is generally anime in general, but... Since I actually used to cosplay as Hetalia characters, which, no, I will not tell you who.
Oh, I know immediately which one.
Go on, tell me.
Germany.
No.
Damn.
Anyway,
there goes like 8 of my jokes.
There you go. At the very least, when I was participating, you could dress up as a country and instantly make friends with people who in universe were friends with that country. So if you were dressed up as Germany, you could show up dressed up as Germany and suddenly you would have a bunch of Italies and Japans hanging out with you.
Just like real life.
It was very easy to make friends. I would go with a couple of friends and we would cosplay as certain characters, and then other characters who, like, interacted with our characters would run up to us and be like, oh my god, we have to hang out, and then we would hang out for the rest of the day.
Yeah, so, like, cosplay is not role play. Cosplay is dressing up, having fun as a character.
But sometimes Hetalia players really like to role play.
Yeah, and, like, that happens. I think that I would say that it happened more than other communities here, because you'd have other, like, before this, there's always, like, big groups of cosplayers that would appear. Like, this was before I was going to conventions, but my really close friend at the time said that when she went to conventions after Akatsuki came out for Naruto, everyone was going as Akatsuki in Naruto. When Homestuck was big, everyone was going as people from Homestuck. There was huge, like, communities of people who would dress up as specific anime that were hot that year or the year previously or, like, a few months ago. and like there would be huge groups of those people, and those people would interact, and a lot of those people didn't really get as role play here. You would have that a lot with Hetalia cosplayers. And I actually went to a Hetalia panel last year when I went to KomoriCon, and there was they still do panels where they're kind of playing into these kind of characters. And people do that, of course, as a part of a panel, but also outside of it. You know, you play into that kind of aspect of the characters you're cosplaying as you kind of play with the jokes and have fun in kind of a light role play setting of hanging out and feeling like you're kind of like in the show. Because like in the show, they just have the characters around arguing or like making fun of each other like that about different kind of cultural stereotypes. So you'd have people kind of replicating that in real life.
I can see why that would be fine and then not fine suddenly, depending on what's said.
Yeah, it was generally pretty accepted. Like I never went, because I'm already an introverted person. I have always been. So I never went out of my way to initiate any type of like first interaction, but dressing up as that character, people would come up to me and be like, they would just suddenly start acting like that character, and I would be like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing, and then I would act like my character, and that was just how it was as a 15-year-old teen.
With conventions, with this kind of, you know, it's a really good way to get people more engaged in the community, to meet people, to have fun. It's just another kind of just really fun thing that used to exist here, and I say used to because like there was always these kind of like big kind of events, you know, like this is the big cosplay of the year, we're gonna dress up as this, you know, like I was saying with like Homestuck and all those people. After it's not, I don't know if this is like the immediate thing, there may have been one anime that I'm forgetting in between, but after Hetalia was the big thing, and it was a big thing that reverberated for years and years until you don't really see it as much anymore. But after that was Attack on Titan. Like Attack on Titan cosplays had the same kind of effect. You know, you would be able to buy Attack on Titan uniform, to dress up as like members of the Scouts, or like people did funny cosplays too, but you could dress up as Attack on Titan cosplayers, and that was the huge thing. Kind of still is, since Attack on Titan's fandom is still active, but that was the last, from what I remember, big cosplay thing that you would see at conventions, right? And after that, you saw more of a splintering of the anime community. So just in how the internet was growing, right? Because back, you know, when King and I were younger and getting into anime, you know, things were more centered on like anime forums or like generally Tumblr, you know, but like things started moving on to like things like Reddit, or like it was always on Reddit, but like Reddit became more popular, 4chan stuff became more popular, Twitter and everything. People started growing, and more people started getting pulled into anime since more anime was becoming more available. Streaming services were starting to exist. So anime was becoming less of a niche thing and becoming something more able to be talked about. So having those particular kind of big communities at conventions doesn't really happen as much anymore. The closest I can really remember is My Hero Academia when that came out. But even then, that never reached the heights that you would see at like the peak of like Attack on Titan.
Oh, really?
And which itself never really reached the heights of like the peak of what you'd see with Hetalia or like Naruto.
You know, this is all very, like, around that time, I barely knew what anime even meant. I used to watch Pokemon and thought it was produced in the U.S.
Yeah, this is why you're the person we're explaining this to.
This is the level we're at for this.
So, like, the reason I bring that up is because I think it's really interesting to note Hetalia's place in this kind of atmosphere, right, in conventions. It was kind of put in like the perfect area to be relevant, easier for people to find, because this was when anime was starting to branch out. More people were able to find these kind of series, and Funimation, the team that dubbed it, brought it to America, made it pretty available for people. And then also combine that with that kind of like big cultural things in anime where people would be into one thing more directly. There wasn't simulcasting as much. There wasn't seasonal anime coming out. People weren't getting to like, you know, cycling through a few different big anime a year. It was mainly like one anime that was the dominant anime for the year that would dominate the cultural anime zeitgeist for the time. And Hetalia was one of the last ones to really hit that point.
Huh. Sounds like a very interesting, not atmosphere, but like media culture, like subculture. I can't think of anything similar.
Yeah, anime is a very interesting subculture in and of itself. From its genesis, you know, in the 60s to where it is now, it's always been pretty weird. It's something that we're noting here, because it is such a weird community, but it is kind of like the end of an era in some kind of ways that you wouldn't really have guessed at the time until you look back at it. Is the end of this era of these kind of big cosplay moments. And again, there's a lot of anime out there that's really popular, like Demon Slayer. But like, you know, even with these super popular anime, I've been going to conventions, you know, over the past 10 years, and you have seen a dramatic change. You do not see it like it used to be, where there would just be huge events, huge photo shoots of these specific shows. There are still, you know, there are still a lot of photo shoots for shows, but they are pretty slimmed down from what they used to be. It's not all one big community thing as much as it is anymore, which, you know, has its benefits of like that we get a lot more anime and people are able to be more diverse, have a lot more different opinions, have a lot more different perspective. But it also has its attraction of being, you know, there's not as much cultural cohesion as there was in Hetalia's time.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. Anime's kind of hit mainstream as of 2022.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty accurate. I mean, I would say that probably happened after Attack on Titan is another thing. That's why Attack on Titan is what I kind of use for that here. Is, you know, that's when, you know, Twitter and everything was getting more popular. But it's also especially when Attack on Titan was a huge draw in for like Zoomers. You know, maybe millennials our age who hadn't really got into anime before, and like younger Zoomers. Attack on Titan is a lot of people's inception point.
Yeah. So what you're saying is Attack on Titan is a Zoomer anime and Naruto is the millennial anime.
Sure, man. Let's go with that.
Sure, why not?
I'm going to extrapolate that info.
Please do not.
Too late.
I want an essay on this, please, from you. Go on right now. Do it.
That'll be your presentation.
Eren Yeager did that TikTok dance in season 2, episode 4.
Yeah!
Yeah!
It really spoke to the Zoomer soul.
Oh, God.
Remember when Eren Yeager did the Fortnite dance on those Titans? It's crazy.
Yo, that was ownage, am I right?
It was so cool.
When will Eren Yeager be added into Fortnite?
I give it a week.
I'm gonna be honest, I thought he was. Is Attack on Titan not in Fortnite? I thought it was.
I think for official anime stuff, it's just Naruto, I think.
That's so incredibly sexy of them. They know.
And very weird of them.
There's only one anime, and it is Naruto.
Oh, God.
I want to see Kakashi do the Fortnite dance.
You can.
Oh, there's so many Kakashi. You can.
I know,
you
it's
can.
great. Hey, any Hetalia fans remember Ao Oni and how popular the Hetalia version was?
Wait, you'll need to explain that for me. I actually don't know. What'd you say?
Are you talking about Ao Oni, the
the
RPG
horror
Maker game? The horror game that PewDiePie played back in like 2012?
Yeah, it was called Heta Oni. It was a very,
what do you mean
very
there's
popular
Hetalia version.
Yeah, it was a very popular fan game that was Hetalia mixed with Ao Oni. I never played it because for some reason, again, this was the internet back in like 2010. You could not find something if you did not have a direct link to it. So
It's true.
like, I couldn't even find it on YouTube. Like, it was hard for me to find, so I never actually like knew about it. I only heard about it and knew just based off of that. I even had fan art of Heta Oni just from like what people were talking about, just from like what I was able to pick up. But Heta Oni was really popular. It was a huge fan game.
That's a lot to take in.
What was the fan game? So I've actually never heard of this. What is the fan game about?
Do you remember the horror game Ao Oni with the giant blue creature?
I don't. Actually, let me look that up here.
It was just an RPG Maker game. It's very low quality.
Yeah, it was one of like the big popular RPG Maker games.
So I don't recognize this here. This is a gap in my knowledge. But what exactly how would they connect this to Hetalia?
Yeah, how would they? What?
So that's the thing, is that because of some people's desire just to separate the World War II aspect, or just in general, just use the characters in another way, they would just fit it in wherever, and one person fit it into another one of their things, which was Ao Oni. I do not remember too much about Ao Oni, but I cannot say for sure if it really stayed true to the original. I just remember there being a lot of clocks. There was a book reference. Again, I never actually was able to see it, so I don't know for sure. I just know what I remember, which was there was a clock, there was books. Like, you can look up Ao Oni Hetalia, and there's like numbers, there's clocks everywhere. Like, you'll see Italy holding a book. It's like, and again, you get so much fan art. It was super popular. And again, it was just angst. It was just angst because like everyone was dying. because it was a horror game.
Oh my god.
Based off of Hetalia. It was incredibly popular. There was a lot of people, Hetalia had a huge AU community, alternate universe community, where they would just take the characters and plop them into something else. Hetalia had their own AU, like a canon AU, which was Gaku and Hetalia, which was all of the Hetalia characters at a school. It was just a school universe. It was a school AU that was canon to Hetalia.
Wait, what?
What?
Wait, how did it become canon?
It was canon because it was actually made. It was an AU, an alternate universe, that was canon to it.
Oh, okay, so it's like a spin-off of the actual official series.
Yeah, it was a spin-off, but it was one of the first times I specifically had ever heard the term AU.
Okay. That's interesting, because I know some series now do that. Funny enough, Attack on Titan did something similar.
Did they have some weird chibi show?
Yeah. I mean, Attack on Titan?
Yeah.
Yeah, Attack on Titan Junior, I think, or something like that. It's basically them in a junior high school. That sounds like it's inspired by this. That's actually really interesting.
Yeah, there was a lot of AUs in Hetalia that kind of removed them from its original spot and put it somewhere else, including just a school universe.
I hate that.
You're welcome.
That's awful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's cursed.
There was even, I need you to know, there was even a DS game that to this day I am still trying to track down, but it is incredibly expensive. We're talking $200 to $300.
Oh my god.
If you are trying to import it.
Oh my god. I hesitate to ask, but do you know what the game is about?
It's a visual novel.
Okay.
You play as, if I remember correctly, you play as the country Seychelles. And I apologize if I'm pronouncing that name wrong. But you just kind of play as this character Seychelles, and you just kind of... I don't remember what it was about afterwards. I just know that you played as them, and I think you had to pick between the Axis or the Allies as, your, club.
Oh,
I
no,
think.
that's
What
normal.
a pick. What a pick.
What a pick.
Yeah.
Jesus. I don't know. Just the act of having to choose. There's something about that doesn't sit right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with all of these kind of points here, we've gone over a lot of kind of wide variety of topics here. But now that we're finished, Yosh, what's your thoughts about Hetalia Axis Powers?
It sounds like something that was made in poor taste from someone who probably didn't really understand the implications of making a show based on the Axis Powers circa World War II exclusively for aesthetics.
Yeah, I would say that there's a good chance that maybe the creators was not as understanding of it. I would at least I want to think that. That's the nice thing to think.
That's the nice thing to think, is that maybe they were just not aware. I don't know. But
the one thing I would say against that is that there had to be a lot of history for a lot of this show to
makes
you
sense.
have to study a lot of history for a lot of other aspects of the show. So maybe
I don't know.
again, the 2010s, different time.
Then again, if it was just going to be like a 4-panel comic or whatever it was, no, even then, that's weird. No, still kind of weird.
Yeah, at least calling it Axis Powers.
At least calling it Axis Powers. But what it sounds like is it unintentionally started this weird mini cultural blip, phenomenon that was a blip in history where 15-year-old girls were excited to buy military uniforms from World War II to be their favorite country. And that's just something we all have to live with.
Yeah, basically. King, would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, I just want to say, just as my closing notes, in the words of Good Smile US, you may have adopted K-pop and sports anime, but you can't run from your past. We know who you were back in 2013.
None of us millennials can run. This is all something, as I was saying earlier, with how anime was back then, we all knew. We all were aware. We all participated in this in some sort of way.
I did.
If you're an anime fan. No, you didn't, because you don't know what anime is.
I'm clean.
Well, you're not now.
I'm clean in the eyes of God.
No, you're not.
But yeah, we could never run from what we were back in 2013, no matter how hard we all try. Good smile knows.
Well, I will say, as partially horrifying as it was kind of interesting learning about a little bit of cultural things happening.
A fun blast from the past for me. As fun as it can be remembering Very weird. Like, just looking back on it, it's just so weird that you had 15-year-olds running around in World War II uniforms and everyone was like, yeah, this is normal. Like, everyone just had to accept it.
Yeah, you didn't have any choice. There was so much of it. It's all over the place.
I will say, though, because of Hetalia, I was really good at history. I was actually I got really high grades in history. Because I was just like, all right, I'm going to study really hard now to impress the cool country that I like.
That is actually something I'm going to say for people who watch this video. If Hetalia really influenced I'm sure there's people out there who maybe because of Hetalia got a degree in history or something.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I kind of want to know. That's something I definitely want to see comments about is if you watched Hetalia and if it influenced you, how did it influence you? Or like, what did you take away from it? Because I'll say that also about the community as well is like, it made me think at least more specifically about European history, stuff that I didn't know about as I was younger, and like, parts of Asian history. It didn't really get it. It was mostly focused in Europe, but like there's a lot of things that I never really thought about or like ways that countries interact that I never really thought about. It gives you kind of a different perspective that when you're younger, you can really appreciate as, even when I was into history, I didn't really have that kind of perspective on it here. So it does add something to it.
Hetalia was, because especially in North America, you don't learn a lot. This is both for Canada and America. You don't learn a lot about European and Asian history and African history and South American history. It's very centralized to your country, and I'm sure it's a lot like that for a bunch of other countries. So Hetalia was, as problematic as it was, it at the very least influenced a lot of people to go out and learn about other nations and other countries and other cultures that you really had to go to a library or a bookstore to actually know about, because the internet just wasn't what it was nowadays. I can look up whatever I want nowadays and just know it instantly.
Yep.
But 10 years ago, I had to go to a bookstore and buy it. I couldn't just Google like Roman history. I had books upon books still sitting at my parents' house on a Roman and Greek history that I read all the time because Hetalia influenced me into wanting to learn about them. I couldn't do that. I couldn't just Google it.
You know what those books didn't have? Those books don't have hot anime men.
This is true, Yosh.
But like, yeah, even things that did existed, like, Wikipedia, I think has been around for a while, but like those things, they aren't what they are today. They didn't have as much accurate information, really. It's harder to find information. It's harder to find really good resources.
Like, you were also told in school, Wikipedia should not be a reliable source. And if you didn't have anything else except your teachers, then you were like, okay, I won't use Wikipedia. So you had to go to the library. You had to go to the bookstore. You had to go out of your way to learn these things that we just have access to now. Like, we are constantly fed information over and over and over again on Twitter, on Tumblr, on YouTube. You can go on Twitter right now and just see the world politics currently happening in real time. You could not get that. I didn't even know what was going on the other side of my country 10 years ago, let alone what was happening in Europe.
Exactly. There's a whole different kind of perspective you get now that you didn't really have back then. And that is the value that Hetalia did have for a lot of people who did enjoy it back then, is it gave you different kind of perspectives that you just never had access to. Even if researching was possible via the internet, of course, a lot of things are possible via the internet. It's not something that was widely used, and not something a lot of people, especially people like us who were teenagers, didn't really know how to use, because you never really got a lot of people teaching you about it. Never, like, you'd have a computer class every now and then, but like, online research was difficult back then. Even when they were telling you what to do and tried giving you resources, it still was very incomplete.
Yeah, like, again, even as I said, like, it was hard for me just to find fandom things.
Exactly.
But nowadays, I can just look up whatever, and it's at my fingertips. It was a very, very different time.
Find a hashtag.
And for better or worse, Hetalia and just anime in general kind of introduced people to a very, very wide topic of, like, assortment of topics that people just wouldn't have really thought about if it wasn't for, like, these shows.
Exactly. And I think that's actually a great place to end it here. So again, thank y'all for watching this video here. I had a lot of fun doing this and setting this all up with King.
Woo!
Yosh, how do you feel about this experience overall?
I think I've lost my faith in humanity by 2%.
Great. Now plug your pluggables. What do you have? Where can people find you?
Well, they can all find me over at twitch.tv
Oh, no.
/Yoshinom.
No, put $1 in the jar. Put $1 in the jar.
No, text an anime dad.
Now, son, what's this about them
Put $1 in the
Hetalios?
jar. This is $2 now. You're putting $2 in the jar.
Is that some kind of breakfast cereal?
I'm taking your microphone away for a week.
Is that anything like
the
what I
worst.
saw
You're the
you
worst.
looking up
You're
on
the
the old
worst.
Google the other day? Something about a tie? Is that like a Hetalia?
No, we can't mention that on YouTube.
You're gonna make me bleep so much.
Yosh, where can people find you?
I'll find them. Don't worry, viewer. I'll find you.
Okay. No, please, seriously.
Twitch.tv /Yoshinom.
Okay, there'll be a link below along with your Twitter. King, what about you? Where do you want people to look for you?
You can find me on Twitch and YouTube at King of Archers. Also Twitter. Also Tumblr. I'm everywhere. Just King of Archers.
Yeah.
Don't follow my Tumblr though. That's a me thing. I reblog a lot of Minecraft YouTubers and Kakashi.
Follow King's
so,
Tumblr for the latest Hetalia content.
Follow my Tumblr if you want to know my latest hyperfixation. It's currently Kakashi Heta. So like if you guys want to see a little silver guy, go right ahead.
Now, what's
Follow my
a
Tumblr.
Kakashi? Is that some kind
Text
of
an anime
nut?
dad. I'm going to find you and beat you to death.
Okay. What I will say also for King is a great Minecraft YouTuber, great Minecraft just creator in general.
I'll
He
get
wants,
destroyed, Yosh. I'm getting promoted. You're not. Get destroyed.
You're getting promoted because King put effort into this instead of listening.
Oh, destroy!
Oh, God.
I put in
No.
a fraction of more effort than you did, Yosh.
I'll fight you in court.
But King makes great Minecraft videos, really structured kind of content you can see on YouTube, and just does just has a great hardcore world, as opposed to Yosh, who dies in hardcore Minecraft
Hey,
over
hold
and
on.
over again every week.
That's not true.
Yeah,
It
here.
lasted a couple weeks
Yes, it
before.
is.
Hey,
Yes, it is.
hey, anyone who's for some reason also a Minecraft fan and also a huge anime nerd, which generally they kind of go hand in hand. But here's your pill. Red pill or blue pill? I'm the blue pill. Yosh is the red pill. Do you want to watch someone who dies a whole lot in hardcore, or do you want to watch someone who still has their world a year in?
Or do you want to hear from Texas Anime Dad? You take the red pill, you can hear about all the mingos.
If you want to deal with Texan Anime Dad, you can if you're a freak, but...
You know, your mother was a yandere.
Okay.
Oh,
we're gonna stop with that.
no!
Okay. This is going to be hell to edit. How dare you?
You're welcome.
But also, to end this out here, my name is Connor. This is my channel called Heart of Complaints, where I talk about anime of all different kinds. So if you ever want anime content similar to this is new, let me know, because I actually would love to do more things like this in the future. This is really fun so far. Thank you for watching this video. Go check out King and Yosh, and thank you for watching. You have a great day, great night, or whatever it is you're having, and stay rad.
I hope you have a bad day.
Anime.
That's all being cut. That's the
No,
end of the video.
you can't cut
Anime.
That's all being cut. That's all being cut.
Okay, I am ending my recording now.
Yeah, same am I. Oh, I hit record again.